All right, everybody, welcome back to the Brotherhood Academy Radio podcast. This is episode 007, and this is going to be a good episode because I got Paul back here. It's not a solo episode like the last few. And we have a special guest with us today. He's a very, very special guest, Nick Hamill from the South Berwick, Maine Fire Department.
Lieutenant Nick Hamill.
Lieutenant Nick Hamill, absolutely. So let's start off with some announcements. I just want to remind everybody to make sure you check out our social media accounts on Facebook, Brotherhood Academy Radio. Check that out, like it. We have a page and a group, and on the group you can join that, and it's a good place to do some interacting and ask some questions and talk with other members. So that's growing daily. So check that out. All right, you ready to kick this off, Paul?
Ready.
With Nick and Paul, enjoy the show. They've been friends since they were in diapers, so they have the same heart to beat. Volunteer fighters, fighting for a dying breed. Brotherhood Academy, Brotherhood Academy Radio.
What do you think of that, Hamill?
Sounds good.
That was custom made.
Custom.
Totally custom.
You guys are so fancy.
Oh, we try to be fancy, although we're very primitive here because we're running off of two iPhones, recording onto one, and that sound comes off the other. So, but we'll get there. So, welcome to the show, Nick. We haven't seen you in a while. I think the last time I hung out with you and had a beer with you was in North Conway.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
Yeah, back in what, May? May, something like that?
Yeah, something
April,
like that.
May. We're having a beer at some dispatcher conference.
Yeah.
A bunch of radio nerds and dispatcher nerds and
My people.
so a lot of yeah. So we're here, and you are a lieutenant with the South Berwick, Maine Fire Department.
I am.
And how long you been on there?
22 years now.
2 years. Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
Oh.
That counts junior time, but yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. You count junior time like Paul does, then.
Yep.
And his kid time.
Yep.
I don't have kid time, but
37 years of counting.
There you go.
so that's what 19 adult time.
There you go. No, that's cool though. So what got you into South Berwick?
So I'm not wasn't born into it or bred into it. Had some friends in high school that were on the department. We're kind of family, entwined in the department, and was always kind of interested. And when I turned 15, I joined up.
Awesome. So they got an Explorer program over there, right?
Yeah, junior program.
Junior program. Yeah, we used to have one of those.
Yep.
But and it did good because it got all of us into it as well. We went through the same deal. So that's great. So tell us a little bit about South Berwick Fire Department, the demographics and the number of members you got, stuff like that.
Sure. So we're in southern Maine, right next to York. About 30, we're in about 35, 36 members. It fluctuates anywhere from 30 to 36. Active, yeah.
Active, yeah.
Well, total, yeah.
Okay.
Do about 400 calls a year. No EMS, so that's all strictly fire.
That's good.
Don't really have fires, but we stay pretty busy for a small town. So
Do a lot of mutual aid fires.
we do, yeah. We're lucky to be kind of strategically located close to a lot of towns,
Right.
especially towns that actually have fires. So
Right.
it works out in our
Yeah,
favor.
that's helpful. Way better than us, as half of our border is an ocean. So.
Yeah, the ocean doesn't burn.
And the other third of it's ours is us.
Right. Well, that's true. You
And we don't have fires. So.
Yeah, you are our biggest bordering mutual aid town. Absolutely. So, and it takes us 10 to 15 minutes just to get to you.
It's a 10-mile run to downtown South Berwick from York Village. So
It's longer now with 91 closed.
Well,
yep.
that too. Yeah, there's a bunch of detours. So, awesome. So you guys, I wanted you on the show, and Paul agreed because you guys are crushing it with membership. I mean, I was listening on the radio the other night. You guys had a reported building fire out behind your station somewhere. I forgot the name of the road, but it was a smoke in the basement.
Yep.
Like around midnight, and your first engine signed on with 6 guys.
Mhm.
I was like, damn.
amazing.
It's awesome.
It's amazing.
So, what is it that makes your department tick? What is it that keeps people coming back, that's keeping the morale up and people showing up?
Well, I think the biggest thing that we have an advantage on is our leadership's pretty solid. We've had a really long-term, officers and chief officers and even line officers. I mean, I'm the youngest, lieutenant.
Best looking one, too.
Well, I don't know about that, but with almost 20 years on. So
Right.
that stability at the top, I think, really sets the tone, especially when the expectations are there. So we expect a lot from our guys, and they produce.
Good. Giving everybody a personal responsibility and something to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it keeps them going, and it gives them a sense of ownership too. I think that's what we benefit from is, us as officers, we're given a lot of stuff to do and projects, and when they're given to us, it's ours. We own it, from the start to the end, and it gives us that ownership, which is pretty awesome. So,
And it's become part of the fabric of the department where, we take pride in not getting retoned, which,
Right.
most towns around here, in general, are retoned a lot.
right,
Of course, that's changed with regional dispatch, but
sure,
the guys take a lot of pride in getting out the door with the big number on the truck,
Mhm.
and whether it's with 6 guys or even during the day with 3 or 4 guys, in the bedroom town's pretty good, and then getting all the trucks out. So we try to get the second piece. If you have 6 guys in the first and just a driver in the second, well, it doesn't really do you any good. But
Yeah.
we try to get them out loaded.
Yeah,
So
sure.
most of the time, so.
sure. Now, are you guys allowed to go direct to the scene, or does everybody have to go to the station?
So predominantly to the station. We break the town up into districts, and
Mhm.
if you live in the South District or the Northern District, like where I live,
Yep.
we go to the scene
Gotcha.
if it's in our area. If
Right.
not, we go to the station. So, like for me, if it's north end of town, I'll just go out there. And but there aren't that many of us. It might
Mhm.
be half a dozen.
Right.
Have the gear with them. Everyone else is at the station.
Gotcha. We used to do that when we lived close to town, but
Yep, going to the station was kind of a thing that we did. The guys that were in the village close by, but now living out here on the south end of town, that's not really an option for By the time
Right.
I get to the firehouse, everything's gone. So
right.
Yeah, I'm
right.
5.6 miles.
Yeah.
wow,
from the station.
oh
So
wow, that's a
Yeah.
lot. I'm 3.5, and I don't make a truck.
no, I say we get out in under 10 minutes usually. So
That's good.
I would never make it there.
Yeah.
To get on the truck in time.
Yeah. And during the day, you guys have the benefit of what is it, P. Gagnon's oil company.
Correct.
Now, how many of your guys are employed by them?
A lot.
It fluctuates to anywhere from 4 to 6, depending on the season.
So, what did they have any relation with the fire service at all? The owners of that business, or how did that come about?
The owner, the current owner, that it was on the fire department for many, many years,
Okay.
and they've always been really, really supportive of the town in general and in the fire department.
Mhm.
Our assistant chief's, one of the higher up leaders at the company, and so they've always had a pretty good relationship.
Yeah, that's good. That's important in a small town where you got businesses that'll let their employees who are firefighters leave and go off duty
Sure.
to answer the tone. So,
Yeah, that's as good as gold. Now we understand that the way it works there at P. Gagnon is that the guys just drop what they do and go to the call and remain on the payroll at P. Gagnon, and the town of South Berwick makes it right with the business, as far as we have been told. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm not sure of the particulars on that, but I know there's some arrangement there between the town and the company. So
That's awesome.
I know that whatever the town reimburses them doesn't even come close to covering the cost of losing 4 or 5 workers during the day. But
yeah. Well, it's important, though. In a small town, it's important for businesses to understand that kind of system needs to be in play. I mean, when you and I were first starting out, we were working together at Stonewall Kitchen.
Oh
And
man, that was a
Geez,
ball.
they, back before we had responsibilities, and they let us leave for any fire,
Hmm.
or drop everything we're doing, and there was one summer we were leaving how many times? Jeez.
I'd give anything to go back and do that job
That was-
again. That was a lot of fun with no responsibility, and
Yeah.
those Friday afternoon 2:30 in the afternoon lightning strikes,
Right.
building fires and
Bye-bye.
checking out and taking off and
Yep.
going to the fire. That's as good as gold right there.
Right.
nothing
And
wrong with that.
and-
No email on the phone, no
That
responsibility.
was great.
Right. Yeah.
Just punch out and leave.
Right.
That was it.
And it was good because it benefited the town. I mean, and I think today still we have a few people that are firefighters that work in town. Dave Apgar,
Yves
our
Lassard.
deputy Yves Lassard. Yeah, I mean those guys, they work right in town, and if something comes in, they're able to go. So I mean that's a huge help.
Yeah, it is.
We have a few guys that are off shift. They might work nights or second shift, so they
Mm-hmm.
that helps during the day, which is really where most small departments really need the help during the day.
Oh yeah.
We struggle here with it once in a while too.
Yeah, we do.
I'm not gonna BS you and tell you we get trucks out with 6 guys at 11 in the morning. That doesn't happen. But we try to get at least 3 driver, officer, and a tail guy, and try to get multiple trucks out.
That's awesome. That's
It'd be unusual. Most of our trucks are rolling. Most of our people are going POV, so most
Right.
of our trucks are going out with 1 or 2 guys on them. To have 3 guys on a truck is almost a luxury for us.
Yeah.
Because they're all showing up in POVs. I mean, that's just the way we put our stuff together.
if we had, I think if we had more stations, we could make that work a little bit better. But
Yeah,
we
we
have
would.
such a wide western area where,
Yeah.
you know, the 2 fire stations in town are 4 miles apart from each
Yep.
other, and they're both right on the seacoast. And then you go westerly, and I mean, it's 56 square miles, and your 2 stations are 4 miles apart from each other. So
Yeah, our station's you know, kind of in the really long rectangle shape, and we're in one corner of the station, but most of the residential area is there too. So,
Yeah.
you know, the majority of our active guys are within, you know, within a mile, mile and a half, certainly under 2 miles from the station.
Yeah.
You know, and that allows them to get out the door that quickly.
right.
That's
That's
nice
helpful.
to be that close.
I mean, and I think the issue we have in town is all the residents around where our fire stations are high dollar, high
yeah,
class
yeah.
residences, you know, and
Or like my parents, where they're
they've
four
been there
tenths
for 100
four
years.
tenths of a mile from the firehouse. They've been there for 40-something years. So,
Right.
you know, they get in while real estate was cheap,
Right.
and now that's a 5-minute walk from the ocean.
Yep.
None of us can afford to live there.
Nope.
So.
Right.
No, certainly not. So how often do you guys train in South Berwick? What's your training look like?
So we break the guys up into companies. We have 3 companies, 2 for the guys on probation. So that's your, you know, year 2 to year 40 guys. And then we have a probationary and a trainee company, which is your juniors, your trainees, your probies. The standard companies train once a month.
Okay.
We've been doing a lot more combined training. So
Mhm.
we'll basically have 2 sessions. We'll have a Sunday session and then a weeknight,
Oh, cool.
you know, in hopes of catching everybody.
Sure.
And then the in addition to that training, the newbie group trains independently, so they do
Okay.
other courses. And
Gotcha.
I'm not totally sure what their schedule's like, but it's at least once or twice a month.
Yeah.
So
Great. That's good. That's good. I wish we had 2 nights a week. That's pretty.
That's an interesting approach, and one of the complaints we've had on our trainings is that we focus a lot on the younger newbie probationary to year 2 guys, and that the more experienced guys, the year 2 to 15 or 20 or
the
whatever,
middle child.
the middle children are getting kind of left out because most of the training is below their level. They're already there. They've already accomplished that, achieved that. And so that's an interesting approach that, you know, hence why we're here
Sure.
spitballing and throwing
Right.
out ideas and trying to figure out what's working. And I like that idea. That's
I like the
kinda cool.
Sunday thing too because you know, a lot of us doing shift work, you know, like myself, I'm on evening shift and I'm stuck on second shift for probably 9 months out of the year, and doing a training once a week on a Thursday night. You know, I can only really make it in the summertime. You know, so I think that's
Sunday
that's a
morning
really
drill
cool
is
idea.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
You have daylight, and you know
Right.
that's
well, that's just it. I mean, so we historically hadn't trained during the summertime. So we'd start up, you know, September and run through to, you know, May or June. Well, you know, a weeknight in November it's dark by 5 o'clock. So
yeah.
So,
Right.
and nighttime training is valuable too, but having that Sunday where you can get a little more in depth into things and
Yeah, take your time.
you know, it's typically a larger crew. So even if you are training on a weeknight, you have fewer guys to run through drills and stuff. So it seems to work.
That's awesome. That's
So we did in the past. We used to have 4 lieutenants, and in the past we did actually have a separate company. It was actually my company for the intermediate guys, the 2 to 5 guys, and we thought that really helped because, like you had said, there's a huge experience gap from your probies where every single guy is dressed in a hydrant, every
Right.
single guy is pulling a line,
Yeah,
every
yeah.
single guy, you know, whatever, and we're blessed to have a lion's share of 10-year plus guys.
right.
And what we found was the 2 to 5 guys kind of get lost in the mix.
Sure. They want
Because-
to be engaged
Because they go to regular company training, and, you know, we're talking up here,
Mhm.
you know, at a real high level, and they go to probie training, and they've been there, done that.
Right.
And that seemed to work pretty well. And really, the only reason we don't still do it is we've had mostly 5+ guys in the
Yeah.
last 3 or 4 years. So.
Gotcha. Well,
But I can foresee that, you know, if we do get another, you know, big group of 1 to 5s, we probably split them back up again.
Huh,
Gotcha.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
That was a fun crew too, because you know we go out and do training, and you know we're not doing the basics, but they're still learning. And
Right.
that's, you know, as someone who's doing training, that's always pretty fun. You know, it's one thing to go out with a bunch of experienced guys, and you're kind of going through the motions sometimes,
Right.
depending on what it is. But
Well, that's how
you
a
know.
lot of us learned. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Before we were even juniors. You know what I mean? You're watching the guys and seeing
Yeah.
what they're doing,
Oh, yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's how you gain your experience too. So, awesome. So, how's the morale over there? You got a good morale? You strong culture?
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's been a transition year for us, definitely.
Yeah.
We had our chief passed away last fall, about
Yeah.
this time last year, and he
Yeah.
had been chief for almost 50 years. So you can imagine,
Sure.
a long-standing
That's definitely a culture shock. When
culture,
you gotta change something like that.
Nobody in the department knew the department before Chief Gorman was running the place.
There's
So,
one guy
yeah.
in the whole station who worked under a different chief.
Wow.
So
Wow.
That's crazy.
but
No kidding.
we've made it through, and I'd say I'm proud to say that we're still running as strong as ever.
Yeah.
But that brings challenges, right? Because there's guys are sometimes a little unsure of what's going to happen. They
Yeah,
get
there's
so used to the
uncertainty.
way that things went,
Right.
and now there's a little bit of uncertainty in
Yeah.
there. So
Yeah.
But-
And firemen don't like uncertainty.
No, we don't. We like clear expectations. But Chief Roussel, the successor to Chief Gorman, has been there for a long time too. So he's a well-known guy. It's not
Yeah.
like he's a guy that just popped out of the woodwork last week. So
Right.
everybody knew what they were getting with him too. So that's the benefit and that's probably helped you guys with your moving forward with your department, is that you have a guy that probably had a shared vision with Chief Gorman, and he can carry on the
Wasn't he his
tradition.
assistant chief or deputy?
Yeah.
Okay.
and he's Joe's a great guy, and we've all really kind of pitched in to help him. It's a huge learning curve, especially for
Oh,
him.
yeah.
Of all the change, for everybody, certainly he's had the biggest,
Yeah.
and we've all just trying to do our part and keep
great.
it going.
It's good. Well, it takes a team. It takes the whole leadership. you
Yeah,
know.
without good officers, the department doesn't run. I mean, the chief can be as good as anybody on earth, but without a strong team backing him, that whole thing is going to come to a halt.
Yeah, absolutely. And that chief's got to be willing to let his officers, his or her officers,
Run
with
things.
and take ownership, and he's got to delegate.
Yeah, he's big on delegation, which has been nice. Chief Gorman was old school, and
Yeah.
he didn't delegate much,
Right.
and he did a great job, and
Yeah.
he didn't really need to.
Right,
But
right.
that left us with a lot of unanswered questions when with him gone, and trying to figure out
Sure.
how things run day to day, and we just take every part as we go.
Yeah,
Oh, that's good.
that's great.
Firefighters are pretty resourceful people. We can figure out most things, but certainly, that micromanagement thing is a tough struggle, and so delegation is both a blessing and a curse. I mean, obviously, if things are delegated properly to the right people, and they go-getters, they can jump right in and take charge and do their thing. But if the wrong things are delegated to the wrong
Right.
people, that
Right.
falls flat on its face.
You got to find everybody's strengths and capitalize on their strengths, and let them run with it. That's where we benefit too. Is we have a lot of people that aren't firefighters, and they come in and they have a specific skill set that they're really good at that isn't necessarily fighting fire, and we let them run with it.
Sure,
And that's the key to delegating.
it's like any great leadership. Any great
Yeah.
leader, they really need to find the strengths of their people and
Yep.
and use them to
right.
build an organization. And
Absolutely.
we've done pretty well with that.
Yeah, that's great.
Do you guys find you have some non-firefighting people in your organization that do other things that behind the scenes type stuff that needs to get done?
Yeah, so we have someone who does basically the dispatch duties. He does all the attendance in the books, and he does actually does payroll and a lot of the behind the scenes bookkeeping and stuff.
Yeah.
Runs the station during calls, and we just recently took on a couple other guys who are non firefighter types, but to really just be there and help out.
Yeah.
One's a retired chief from the area, and so they're just there to help out and want to be involved. And I think that's important, because
Yeah.
there are a lot of places that don't welcome non-firefighters.
Right, they look down on them like, "What are you doing here?"
And then they need help. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
we try to believe that there's a spot for everybody. That we've been bit by that a few times.
Yeah,
but,
we have to.
Oh, we have to, definitely.
but I'd rather give it a try and have it not work out than just turn my nose up to it.
We're in agreement on that because we have a lady that is in our department that takes care of our filing and Department of Labor compliance stuff, which is huge because it's stuff that most of us
Nobody wants to do.
nobody wants to do it because the Maine being for you guys that are not in our state or our area, Maine is an OSHA state, and the fire departments are not exempt from OSHA requirements. So we deal with the Maine Department of Labor, and the compliance regulations are what's the word I'm looking for?
Unwieldy.
It's
Yeah.
incredible
Yeah.
the amount of compliance stuff that they are looking for.
We have to
And-
refresh ourselves on fire extinguishers. Once a year.
Yeah, and bloodborne pathogens, and
Right.
And anyway, the requirements are very stringent, and volunteer departments we have a really hard time. I'm sure you guys do too. We have a really hard time keeping up with all that paperwork and all that mandatory training and all that documentation and all that paperwork. And we have a woman that. Ellen in our fire department that takes care of that.
Joan.
Ellen. I called her Joan by mistake one time, and the name kind of stuck.
That's how you get a nickname. at
just
the
another
firehouse.
just another nickname I've handed out over the years. But she does all that, and we have huge 3-ring binders with everything in dividers, and so when the Department of Labor comes knocking on the door, anybody can fetch that binder, and we can access the whole year's worth of required compliance paperwork, SCBA inspections, fire extinguisher inspections, fit tests, medical doctor evals for the SCBAs.
Which we benefit there too because we happen to have a doctor on our department.
Right, we have a
that
department
helps.
physician. But anyway, there's so much stuff that goes into that. And anyway, that was one of the things that a little off topic.
No,
but
not at all.
we have people in our departments that are non-fire people because we need some people that can do other things other than going into buildings and putting fires out. And
I mean, the fire department at the end of the day, regardless of where you are, is a business. You
Right.
got to run like a business.
True,
Sure.
You
true,
need to manage your
agreed.
people like a business.
Right.
You need to manage your operation like a business.
Yep.
And,
Customer service.
Customer service like a business. I
Right.
mean, it's all there. Your budget,
Budgeting.
it's
Right.
Yep.
every aspect
Right.
of it
And
has a root in business.
and
And,
it-
if you have a bunch of guys that are great at running into buildings but can't
Sure.
turn a computer on,
Right.
you can be in trouble. You
Yeah.
know?
And it takes a lot of extracurricular reading too. I mean, a lot of guys will read these fire service leadership books and firefighting books. Well, that's all well and good and stuff, but you should dive into some other types of books and videos online to do with business as well, because you can actually relate a lot of stuff that you can take from those books and bring it right to the fire service. I mean, that's something that I would encourage a lot of people to do.
Yeah, and I think we're on the same page there. I read a
Yeah.
lot about leadership
Sure.
in business and self-help, development, professional development, and you can always draw a parallel from that
Yep.
to the fire service.
Yeah, we've gone
Doesn't
back
matter
and
what
forth
it is.
about that quite a few times, and it's definitely a good thing to do. So,
And frankly, for senior firefighters or newer officers, that's really where they should be focusing. I mean,
Yeah.
But by the time you hit that level, you're a firefighter. You know how to put the wet stuff on the red stuff, right?
Right.
You should be working on your professional development.
Yep.
Learning those leadership skills, because that's what's going to take you to the next level.
Yep.
Because you can be the best firefighter in the world and a lousy leader.
Right.
There's a lot
well,
of them out there.
Professional development
sure
and,
is.
and personal development. Work
Absolutely.
on that positivity, work on your home life, and get that life experience that way. You're going to succeed far further than anybody that's just running around getting all these fire classes under the belt. So nothing against fire classes. We all need those too.
No, there's a balance. There's definitely a balance.
Absolutely. So, one thing I wanted to bring up today is I mentioned in the intro that we've been getting people leaving messages, asking questions. So I want to bring up a question. You guys had a chance to read it yesterday. I sent it to you. But there's this kid. I'll give you a little backstory. He's 19 years old. He's from Rand, West Virginia. He's a lieutenant on the Rand, West Virginia Fire Department. 19 years old.
He's
They're
a young lieutenant.
Wow.
very young lieutenant. His name, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but it's Rodji, Rodji, Rodji Selden. It's like Sheldon without an H.
All right.
And I was chatting with him quite a bit yesterday on Instagram Messenger, and he explained his department. The town of Rand, get this, 1 mile long, 4 blocks deep. Figure that out.
Wow. Okay.
I looked it up on Google Maps, and it's legit. It's like one side is a river, and the other side looks like a mountain or something. So 1 mile long, 4 blocks deep.
Wow.
It's like a gunquit.
Yeah.
It's-
yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
it's funny. It's not. I shouldn't say funny, but I've never seen anything like that before. So his question that he wrote to me, he says, I have a department of probably 22 to 24 guys, and about 65% of them are old people. How do I accommodate them when it comes to training and trying to get them to participate? So I asked him a couple more questions after he asked that, and he said basically his chief is his grandfather. His grandfather, kind of like you, where daddy's the chief.
Yeah.
Grandpa's the chief.
Yeah.
And he's 76 years old. Their captain is 56 years old.
Is
And
that
then-
dad?
It might be. I don't know. Yeah, it could be. Maybe uncle. I don't know. Who knows? And then the average age range is 50 to 75.
Wow. Okay.
So it's a great question. I mean, we've had this problem before where you get a couple of the older guys that don't participate. And, the very first answer I had for him, and I'm sure we could go deeper and we could find other answers, was get them to teach.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Definitely.
Sure.
Yep.
He's got a couple things going against him, right? He's the chief's,
Grandson.
relative, and
Yep,
I'm sure
yep,
Paul, you can speak to that.
Yeah. Oh, I know all about it.
He's younger, junior to those guys by 30 years or more.
Oh, yeah, considerably.
Yeah,
Still
yeah.
looked at as
So
a kid.
so
Can't even drink.
naturally,
Yeah.
regardless of how well intentioned he is,
Right.
he's behind the 8 ball, right? Because he's just the new kid, and these
Sure.
guys have been here forever, and he's got to learn.
Yeah.
They got to learn
Yeah.
how to deal with it.
We've been doing it this way for 60 years.
Yes. So I think you're right. I think the key there is to, use their experiences, draw on their experiences, and then the task for him is to figure out how to take their experiences and their knowledge
Mhm.
and to mold that into current relative
Right.
firefighting topics.
Yeah, to go in strong. I'm the lieutenant. You'll listen to what I have to say. You will fail.
Yep.
That approach will not work for you.
Nope.
You've got to harness these guys for what they're willing to do for you, and given the approach, I'm a young lieutenant. I'd like to learn from you guys. I know you guys have a lot to offer.
Help me help you.
Help me
Yes.
help you, absolutely. And those guys will do whatever you ask of them, so long as they're given the respect that their senior service.
You got to remember
is.
the service. You got to keep that. in
They
mind.
put a lot of time in. They probably have a lot to offer. And when I was 19 years old, I was still trying to figure out how to pull a hose, so I wasn't quite ready to be in the officer's seat.
Right.
I was still trying to master my craft. So, keep learning and do the best you can. Read everything you get your hands on as far as firefighting and tactics and strategies and about the business.
They're busy, though.
They're busy?
Get this. So he told me, because he asked how many fires we get a year, and I kind of laughed because I was like,
Not that many.
not that many.
Not lately.
They had 24 in their first due.
Wow.
20.
Jeez.
This was last year, and 24 in their mutual aid.
Wow.
Fires.
Jeez. It's a lot of
One a
fires.
week.
But
Just about, yeah.
only 4 to 5 MVAs a year.
Wow.
I'll trade.
Yeah, right.
right.
Trade.
So-
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We're the exact opposite.
We
Yeah,
are.
no
That's
kidding.
what I told him. I
Absolutely.
said, we're littered with MVAs all the time, but we don't get very many fires. And
Yeah, it was
most of
slow.
our fires now are out of town, mutual aid. And, geez, that doesn't even happen.
Well, it sounds like at that pace, you're going to be a very experienced firefighter in a pretty short amount of time. So
Yep.
keep going, keep learning, and always keep your head on a swivel and your eyes and ears open and your mouth shut.
Yep. Now, do you guys have outside people come in to teach?
Occasionally, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We've done outside. We had outside people come in and do a new vehicle construction class, new vehicle technology class.
Mhm.
We had an outside instructor do a building construction, modern fire behavior type class.
Sure.
Our fire association funds a lot of that. The town doesn't, so
Mm-hmm.
we'll pay to bring in outside instructors or send guys to outside instructors.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're kind of stuck in an echo chamber, right? Even if you do have good topics or new topics, it's still your content and it's your
Yep.
guys, and
Yeah.
it's
you
a
need
lot of
that fresh
times
perspective.
It's
on,
the same thing over and over again,
So as somebody that's taken my show on the road, so to speak, as a fire officer and fire instructor and whatnot, we have batted that around with other. I had a friend in the neighboring state that was a fire chief, and then a training officer in a couple different departments, and he would bring a couple of us from York down to teach every now and again, and it would be the same stuff. He would be trying to teach his own guys, but because he's an insider, they kind of cast him to the side. Yeah. It's the same old stuff from the same guy, and he's trying to teach us the same old thing. And we'd come down and be teaching the exact same thing, but people would be hanging on every word because we're outsiders, and
Right.
their perception is that we're from outside. We probably have our stuff together, and we would laugh at that. that mindset. But it's true everywhere that, we could, here at my own department, I could be teaching XYZ, and they hear the stuff from me all the time.
And it's very dry.
You get the eye roll.
Yeah, it has a tendency
No,
to
I'm
be
just
dry,
kidding.
whatever.
I'm just kidding. No,
But,
I don't think it's dry.
but,
I stay engaged. I love your trainings.
You hear the same stuff from the same guys,
Yeah.
and because it's me, they don't pay much attention. If somebody from outside was teaching the same exact thing, they'd be hanging on every word because it's from somebody on the outside. And
I get it too. Every year when we have to do the driver training refresher PowerPoint, everybody they start to sigh and roll their eyes. And, sorry, guys, we
Yeah.
gotta do this. We gotta do it.
Department of Labor again.
Mhm.
Yep.
Mhm. Maybe I should dub that down a little bit though. It is kind of a long PowerPoint, but
Yeah, one thing, an idea I've had, and we haven't really acted on it yet, or had really the time with everything else going on to get into it, was to come up with a kind of a secondary curriculum, an experience guide curriculum, where because the trap you get into is, and we're right there now, is we don't pull the more experienced guys into the classroom enough. And I don't want to sit there and go through 100-slide PowerPoint from square one
right.
on whatever tactic, but there should be a quick 5-bullet point with some videos refresher to hit the high points, to hit the points that, you do it in the field, but, just to give a refresher on the why, right?
Yep.
The last thing we want to do is have a bunch of guys that know what to do but don't know why we do it.
Right.
Yeah,
And that's
that's what you fall into.
That brings up an important point too. Is when you are getting those younger members joining up. I mean, you're getting millennials and now Gen Xers, is that the next thing? And they want to know why.
Yeah.
Everything for everything.
Yeah, they're like my 4-year-old. Why?
Yeah, why?
Why?
Exactly. Yep,
Yeah.
They want to know why, and that's nothing. There's nothing wrong with millennials. People bash millennials and this and that, but honestly, I think they have a real good place in the fire service because one, they want to know why, and two, they want to make a difference in life. That they're going into jobs these days right out of college, and they're not making a difference right away, and they're getting discouraged. Well, if you want to make a difference, join the fire department. But they want to know why.
Sure.
So one of the trainings we did the other night, Thursday night, was annually we do a chimney fire refresher.
Mm-hmm.
And in the past, maybe in our department, maybe like in your department, chimney fire is an operation we do multiple times a year, and we do really, really, really good at it. We're really good at it.
Yeah, you did a good job down here. You did a real good job.
Didn't mess anything up, did I?
No.
So it's some departments are strong EMS wise, and they go to heroin overdoses and they give out Narcan, and they do that operation daily, and they're really good at it. And it's like snap your fingers and ABCD, the call goes. That's how York Village Fire does chimney fires. We're really, 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 that's one of our bread and butter operations. And, because it had been passed down from the older generation. This is how we did it in years past, and this is what worked, and this is what didn't work, and it got passed down. And we evolved throughout the years, finding what worked on that operation and what didn't.
It helps too when you're going to the same chimney every year too.
Yeah,
Some places.
We used to have an annual chimney fire at different places around
Yeah.
town, and so what we did was we wrote an SOG. We had never had an SOG on it, but we actually wrote one based on how we really operated at those incidents. So it really was more like how do we do this, and what works and what doesn't. Let's write down an SOG based on how we actually operate, and then we follow that SOG to a T because that's how we've always done it.
Right.
And then we came up with, every year we would sit and have a chimney fire class, and we'd talk about this chimney and that chimney, and it was hard because it was just the older guys up there talking about chimneys and this, that, and the other, and we didn't have any pictures. It was all based on experiences, and it didn't help the younger guys because we were explaining this and explaining that, and to me, without a picture, it doesn't do much good.
A lot of younger guys are really visual learners.
Right.
Too.
So we made a PowerPoint presentation, and now we run that every year. And I don't think it's terribly dry, but I mean, we do run the same presentation every year. It's an annual refresher.
Yeah.
Right.
This time of year, because it's the beginning of chimney fire season, and
Now that you say that, we're going to have our first one tonight.
it wouldn't surprise me. And so we went through the PowerPoint the other night, and it's got pictures in it of some incidents that happened here, some stuff that was stolen off the internet, borrowed, procured,
Repurposed.
Yes.
repurposed. So, just photos that fit the examples being provided, and we tried to have a pretty comprehensive program on what to expect, how we operate, some of the things that we had screwed up over the years that we can do better on, and then we reviewed the chimney fire equipment that's carried on the trucks. We carry a chimney bucket and a chimney chain, which are separate pieces of equipment, and we try to have them be in the same place on all the trucks.
Right. That's important.
Consistency is important. We've tried real hard to be consistent with where equipment is carried on the trucks, and we're probably 80% of the way there.
Yeah.
But
Speaking of trucks, talk about what do you guys got for trucks over there, South Berwick?
So we run 2 engines, a quint and a tank truck. So we got both pumpers are one's kind of set up for structural.
Mm-hmm.
The other one's kind of our vehicle rescue type, truck. It's not a rescue truck by any means, but
Right.
carries a tool and whatnot. Yeah. And then the quint's kind of obviously it's 75 foot, pumping water. Has our second rescue tool on it. And that's really set up for rescue stuff. It's got the Stokes basket and everything else. And then, of course, tanker.
Yep.
Tanker.
Pretty basic tanker.
Yep. Pretty simple. We didn't do anything, crazy with any of them. They're all pretty basic trucks, nothing super fancy, but, gets the job done.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you want to talk about one of your trucks and your little intimate relationship you had with it last winter? Or?
I knew I wasn't going to escape without bringing that up.
I mean, I'm just curious. I mean, I was told when you're interviewing someone, be curious. So I'm curious. If you don't want to talk about it, that's cool.
No, so earlier this year was in March, middle of March, I guess. We could call out for a building fire. It's about 2 a.m. It's actually about 4 houses down from my house. So I get up, hop in the truck, head down, get there, well before anybody else. And it's a fire burning around the chimney, like a ranch, nothing major. Call in an update. Chief shows up, we do a walk around, kind of come up with a plan. And, long story short, I'm walking down the driveway just as the first 2 engines pulling in. And I see him coming. And typically we stay out on the street, but he was, had been directed to turn into the driveway. And I didn't hear it or didn't realize it or whatever. And before I could get out of the way, I actually got hit by the truck as it was pulling in.
oh boy.
He didn't see me. He had no idea.
Yeah.
And I'm 6'3", 280 pounds,
Yeah.
but in gear. But
Yeah, sure.
yeah,
Sure.
didn't see me. And
Hey, that's okay though.
I tried to jump out of the way, but there was a stone wall into the snowbank
Oh.
and got me between. So basically, I got hit by the officer's side body. So from the tailpipe, my boot was actually stuck like in the between the tailpipe and the body.
Yeah.
The rear tire, and that's about it.
Wow.
My lower leg. So
You're lucky.
very lucky. So I kind of got up and I was dazed and confused. Didn't really know what was going on, other than my boot was missing and my pants were shredded. And
God.
then I kind of came to and I realized that, okay, I guess I'm not going in. 'Cause I was waiting for the truck to get there to put pack on. And I couldn't find my mask, so whatever.
Yeah.
So I said, well, I'll adjust the hydrant. So I grabbed the valve off the back of the truck and I carry the hydrant's right in front of the house.
Yeah. That's
And
good.
I carry it over, and the driver's, getting ready to hand jack a line, and I got the first cap off the hydrant, and then the pain hit, and I was like, oh my God, I can't do this. So went to the ambulance. So
It's that adrenaline rush that makes you forget about the pain or not notice it until
That's
you
a
start
lot.
doing something.
That's no fun.
No.
So the funniest part of the whole, two things happened. So I go to the ambulance, and we're getting ready to leave, and the driver actually opens the back door of the ambulance, and kind of looks at me, and he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. He says, how you feeling? And I go, without missing a beat, like I just got hit by a, bleeping truck. He puts his head down. He's like, I guess I deserve that one. And then the second thing that happened was we get to the hospital, and of course they do the call-in, and then the call-in's like, a 37-year-old male, struck by a fire engine, yada yada yada.
Yeah.
And they're like standing at the door waiting, and
Yeah.
and I tell them when we pull in, I'm not going to make you guys, carry me in. So I said, I'll walk in. Are you sure? I said, no, I'll walk in. I'll be fine. So we get to the hospital. We pull up under the canopy, and I can see people all crowding the doorway at the ER.
Oh boy.
And they punch the code. I walk through the door, and I hear someone in the back of the room go, "Oh man, he's walking." And I'm like, sorry to disappoint you.
Yeah, right. Oh my God, that's
Oh
awesome.
man.
Oh Jesus. Huh.
Yeah, so
Well-
I mean, it's funny now. It wasn't really funny when it happened, but
Well, it never is, but now you can joke.
it was eye opening for everybody. I
Yep.
think because you just complacency kills, right? And,
Yeah.
I wouldn't say that it just happened.
Right.
There was no intent on anyone's part. There was really no negligence on anyone's part.
Yeah.
It's
Heat
two in the heat of the moment, 2 in the morning, and fire shoot from the roof. So.
Right. Yeah, that adrenaline's rushing, and that goes to show too that as volunteer and call guys, we're not immune to any of that.
Right.
We have just as much chance of getting hurt or even killed than any career department.
Oh,
So-
sure. And especially more so on the road, right?
Yeah.
Because you look at the incidents of apparatus accidents
Yep.
and stuff like that, or POV accidents, and those sorts
Most of it is preventable. Most of it is
Oh, sure.
Almost all of it.
preventable.
Almost all of it.
preventable.
Yep.
It's so sad to see that stuff happen.
So
And I think the other piece of it too is, like I said, typically, 85% of our guys don't go directly to the scene.
right.
And I'm in one of the more rural parts of town, so I have my gear with me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm one of maybe half a dozen that would go directly to a scene. So,
Mm-hmm.
they're not always expecting to see people, walking around,
Sure.
because they get there and it might be the chief and there might be nobody, So
Yeah.
I think that kind of plays into it too.
Absolutely. Wow. Damn. I think that's pretty much. I mean, we've got a pretty good show here recorded. I'm pretty impressed. I'm very happy to have you here. One more thing I want to ask both of you. You guys ready for trick or treating or what?
I'm going to work tomorrow. I don't
What?
care. Let it happen.
How about your kids though? You got your costumes ready?
I don't know. She's got that sorted out.
We were easy this year. Jack wanted to be a fireman, so
Oh well, that's easy. There you go.
so that's easy. And then by default, his little brother's gonna be a fireman.
Oh,
So
perfect.
Yeah, it's
we're good.
It's
Yeah.
easy.
Can't beat that. Yeah.
I never want to be that guy whose kid's a fireman every year, but
Yeah. Well,
this is the first year he really get to choose what he wanted to be. So
yeah. If that's what they
we're
want.
going with it.
Sure.
Cool.
Sure. Yeah. Coraline's going to be a porcupine.
Oh.
So
Interesting.
she's obsessed with porcupines.
All right.
Henry. Have you ever met Henry, the porcupine from the York? What's that called? Up by the mountain there on Mountain Road. The wildlife.
Center for
Oh,
Wildlife.
Center for Wildlife.
Wildlife,
Yeah.
yeah.
They have a porcupine there named Henry, and he goes to all the kids'
Oh.
events around town. So she sees Henry all the time, and she can't quite say porcupine. It's peaky cone. So peaky
fun.
cone eats bananas and sweet potatoes, and that's all we talk about. So
All right.
now she's going to be a peaky cone,
Mm.
and Jen made the costume. It actually came out really good. So we're getting excited about that. We're going to hit up 2 towns tomorrow. We're going to do downtown Portsmouth, and then we're going to come to York. We're going to try to bang that all out in 3 hours.
Wow.
Nice.
That's,
right.
ambitious.
So, all right. Do you have any more you want to add? I appreciate you coming out. This is
Thanks
great.
for having me.
Yeah.
It was good.
All right, Paul. Anything?
I think it was very productive. I had a lot of fun.
Good. So we'll plan some more stuff. I know we've got some other guests lined up. We just got to do scheduling and stuff. Scheduling is
Yep.
very, very tough. I'd like to get Peter Humphrey on here, maybe even his brother Eric, and talk about the situation down in Lawrence.
Uh-huh.
I think that'd be a good episode to do. So, again, everybody, check out the Facebook pages and the Instagrams and all that stuff, and get on there and please share this podcast. All right, talk to you again. Thank you.